Welcome back, everybody. The next session is entitled Powering the Small Business Economy with Cloud Technology. Small business is a critical engine of job creation, economic growth, innovation, and a driver in our efforts to recover from a global pandemic. Tune in to hear how Xero is changing the game for startups and entrepreneurs beyond technology. And to speak about this, Damien Tampling, who is the Chief Strategy Officer of Xero. Damien, take it away.
Thank you very much. Look, my name is Damien Tampling, and I'm the Chief Strategy and Corporate Development Officer at Xero, and it's a pleasure to be talking to you here today about what we're up to and how we're building a digital future for small business all around the world. An important topic, really important topic off the back of especially the pandemic that we've just been experiencing. So at Xero, we believe small business, when small business succeeds, the global economy succeeds, and local families and communities also benefit. They're kind of inextricably linked, and none more so than right here in Asia. And I've been living in Singapore for the past 3 years, and I've been working in this part of the world now for 2 decades. And it's an amazing environment. Like, it's an amazing part of the world. It's quite captivating, actually. The diversity of food, the diversity of cultures, the thinking, the history, and experiencing it firsthand and watching it unfold is kind of a real treat. The tech market, for all those reasons, just holds amazing possibilities, and it's one of the largest, one of the youngest, and one of the most tech-savvy populations in the world. And so we kind of regard it as a real hotbed of innovation and opportunity, and we've been here for quite a while. We set up shop here many, many years ago and have really kind of thrived off the back of all those trends moving in that direction. It's also got less restrained infrastructure. You know, in some parts of Asia, obviously, they're doing things really differently just because they don't have some of the infrastructure, or they're tackling it quite differently. And they've also got some pretty interesting programs like the Smart Nation Initiative here in Singapore, for example, which is helping kind of organisations really embrace digital technology. And it's a very mobile-first environment, as many of you would know. 90% of the internet usage up here is being accessed via a mobile. So lots and lots of kind of trends in the background that make it a great place to do business, and really exciting and interesting for small business. So in April 2021, Statistica reported that there were 198 unicorns in this part of the world. And what really kind of blows my mind, to be honest, is that 40% of those companies actually became unicorns during the COVID pandemic. So it's accelerating really, really, really quickly. And so from our perspective, we kind of think, the sky's the limit for many of the entrepreneurs out there that are listening to this, and such new ways of working, trading and living are kind of providing opportunities for many of you to do things differently. So Xero recognised this opportunity, especially around the cloud, around cloud technology, and thinking about how we could actually use the cloud to bring together small businesses, their advisors, their banks and app partners in a kind of really magical way to help them share data and just run their business better. And if you're unfamiliar with our brand, Xero was one of the first to do this for small business in the cloud accounting domain. And we've now today got 2.7 million small businesses around the world, many, many up here in this region, that are using our technology to actually bring together the magic of those different kind of connections. And we're a startup once. It feels kind of like yesterday, but it was 15 years ago out of New Zealand, so a long way from here, from Singapore. And in 2009, we actually realised that the path to kind of adding the greatest value was going to be through partnership. And that's a really kind of fundamental ethos of our business. So in 2009, we opened up our APIs to a community of app developers and software developers, and actually invited them in to say, come and help us, take this connection. We want you to build to that connection, use the data of the customers with their permission to actually add other value with other products. And this really kind of exploded a network of bespoke solutions around Xero, and actually created many unicorns in its own right. And those apps are everything from invoicing to cash flow management to CRM to staff scheduling. There's 1,000 apps now in that ecosystem, 300 connections with financial institutions as well on the platform, and many direct banking feeds in this part of the world into some of the major regional banks that you would be familiar with, and many app partners in this part of the world in Asia that are actually really riding on the coattails of us, which we love, to actually kind of build their businesses and use the distribution that we offer as well as a real competitive advantage. So I'm lucky enough to sit on the global executive of Xero, being based here in Singapore. with an awesome team, an awesome local team in Singapore and Hong Kong. And our focus is really building those products and capabilities that help make small business more successful. But we're doing it always with partnering and partnership in mind, and that kind of concept of a regional ecosystem that inspires others to kind of go on and see what we see in the small business opportunity. So small to medium business, it's, let me just click ahead with my clicker. Small to medium business is one of the fastest growing areas of the global economy. In fact, 90% of business is actually small to medium business. And in Asia, 97% of business is small to medium business. So it's a huge part of the economy. It's kind of the forest floor of the economy where the action's really happening. And of course, many of our customers are actually startups, like many of you, that are small businesses really having a go and leveraging Xero to help them manage the kind of financial affairs of their business and focus on actually running their business and not getting bogged down in some of those aspects of their operations. Now, COVID spurred on a lot of people to also start thinking about small business in different ways. You might have friends, but they've been thinking about reinventing old ways of doing things and sitting from home and maybe with a little bit more time on their hands in some cases, kind of creating a bit of side hustle. So we've been seeing that kind of happen in a lot of our markets around the world, where people that got day jobs or part-time jobs are actually really starting to think about, you know, that idea that they might once had and how they can kind of stand it up and set it up a lot more quickly. The line between small business and consumer is also getting blurred. So you look at, for example, the creative economy or the creator economy, and people even, you know, selling video and content online. They're also becoming, in their own right, small businesses of some scale that need to start needing kind of some of the tools that Xero and its app partners offer. So it's pretty exciting, but a lot of people have thought about small business for a long time, and it's been changing over the years that we've been on the journey, but they put it in the too hard basket, because for a lot of entrepreneurs, sometimes getting the access to the small business and the incremental sale of a small business, or the CAC or the cost of acquisition of getting to a small business, can be pretty burdensome. So people can tend to move mid-market or sometimes at the larger end a lot more quickly, because every sale might represent a larger amount of revenue and kind of fuel their growth. But it's platforms like Xero and others and some of our partners that are hopefully really trying to crack that nut and make it easier for entrepreneurs to kind of tap into and really kind of support the small business cause. But on the flip side, of course, you know, COVID's had some kind of negative effects. You know, many of the ones I mentioned are kind of more positive in terms of inspiring entrepreneurs to have a go. But we've also seen, and you probably know, many people that have been affected by COVID in a more negative way, in a very human way. You know, we had good friends that mortgaged their home to start a small business and fit out a whole new shop. And about 4 weeks later, COVID hit and kind of, you know, put them on the brink of quite, you know, difficult financial situation. So, you know, it's not all roses, but what we feel quite strongly is that we can really have an impact on making the success rate and the lives of those small business owners much more successful and much more enjoyable. But Asia's got resilience like no other in the world, and the tenacity of the people in this part of the world has proven pretty awesome when it comes to thinking about, you know, difficulty and challenges. And tech companies in Asia have kind of risen, you know, from COVID, and I think are going to come out stronger. And that kind of ambition and enterprising spirit we see alive and well in our ecosystem. One of those companies, I thought I'd just talk to two today, because I love profiling app partners in our ecosystem, and that's kind of putting examples to what I'm talking about. It's a business called Eats 365. So some of you might be familiar with it, especially if you're in Hong Kong. Wilson Lee and his team in 2014 founded this business because, in short, I think they realised the mess of some restaurants and F&B owners and the kind of front office and the back office. I mean, owning a restaurant is busy enough when orders are flying in and people are coming in, but just the connectivity between the point of sale, managing inventory, managing other affairs in a restaurant just wasn't connected. And so Wilson and his team kind of really set out in a very local way to almost kind of take what Square we're doing in other, Square you will know in other markets, and actually make it local and more specific, and kind of in some ways do it better and more for what's needed in this part of the world. And they had huge success. They integrated in with us as well to allow the transfer of financial data between Xero and his business. And they've now spread to 19 countries around the world and many in this region. So it's another really good example of an organisation seeing an opportunity to do something better, starting local, expanding from there, just as Xero did that in New Zealand in, you know, many years ago, 2007. Another great example in our ecosystem is another business, a fintech called Aspire, and it opened its doors back in 2018. And Aspire was looking at just the challenges around financial services for SMEs. In particular, they started thinking about lending, which is a real challenge I'll talk to in a second. But they eventually evolved to kind of get into offering accounts, corporate cards, and digital payments in a kind of much more seamless and frictionless way. And again, today they offer that full stack integrated in with Xero, so the kind of the spend management that's coming around an SME's, business or expense cards, and just generally the payments of invoices and the like is much more integrated in with our platform. And Aspire and the team there are kind of thriving off the back of us, hopefully helping and facilitating an aspect of that kind of overall financial services value chain. So that kind of relationship is really quite powerful, because what the apps are doing is kind of, we often say, decorating the data for a small business. So two good examples. I'll just check I'm on the right slide, because it's, moving quite quickly. So decorating the data is a really important part of kind of adding the value. But what we're also finding is that some of the businesses that we're seeing are, changing the way that they're recovering out of COVID, and, they're obviously thinking about the apps that I've just mentioned and how they use them and how they connect them. But an important part of that is actually discovering them and finding clever ways to find out what the best of the best is. They've also been thinking about, getting advice. So out of COVID, they've kind of maybe had some more downtime to be seeking advice from their accountant or their bookkeeper or other experts in their network to kind of go, what works, what doesn't, what combinations of things are a smarter way for me to potentially set up my business out the other side. And as I mentioned before, the third part of it is just leveraging different financial services innovations that are popping up. The World Bank has kind of said there's about a $5.2 trillion lending gap in developing countries around the world, and it's massive. And getting access to capital and managing cash flow, we know, is kind of one of the biggest areas of why small businesses fail. So last year we acquired a business called Waddle, which is a platform within a platform that actually connects small businesses with lenders and fintechs and really facilitates the exchange of data, because small businesses that are using technology platforms and apps like the ones I mentioned and Xero just have their data organised in a much, much more live and kind of organised fashion. And it means it can facilitate lenders getting more comfort lending to an area of the economy that sometimes can be quite challenged. So that's been another really interesting area. And last but not least, I think there's been quite a lot going on around how people have been coming out of COVID and thinking about workforce management. So anyone that's had to manage a workforce that's either been prolonged on subsidies or maybe just working from home has really forced them to think deeply about how they do that and how they do that cleverly. And again, it's an area we're passionate about. We've got lots of great ecosystem partners in that area, and that work alongside tools that we also provide in that space. So with all that increased adoption of tech and just recovering differently, and even just the global growth, we think being able to kind of simplify how people find these apps and thinking about, how we also provide tools to developers so they can kind of build to Xero's platform are really important, parts of really accelerating how businesses come back out of the pandemic and do so differently. So for that reason, recently you might know that we, some of you that will know our business will see that we actually also launched a app ecosystem. And we launched that. It's really an evolution of kind of really where we're at. I'm just clicking forward a little bit here, so excuse me. We kind of built an ecosystem that I've talked to, but what we realized is we really needed to kind of extend the tools that we're offering developers so that the developers could actually hook into the data feeds and the customers that we offer, provide machine learning kind of powered search, billing capabilities and other things to actually kind of accelerate the opportunity that I've kind of mentioned. So we launched earlier this year, and on August 4th we actually had our first sale within kind of 8 minutes on the platform. And it was actually an Australian-born app from my original home country to a UK customer. And this app store was the place that customer had gone to find this particular app to solve a problem, and actually within kind of minutes was able to purchase that app and hook it up with Xero. So pretty exciting kind of development in that area. Everything we've talked about today really kind of leads us back to the kind of core tenet of helping small businesses use technology to kind of work smarter, and we think that helping them succeed starts with clever partnerships and working with others. And so driving innovation and prosperity, we think, is kind of going to involve us continuing to work with entrepreneurs like you in this region. And we do think you should set your sights high, because we're seeing so much opportunity. The momentum that's building around small business in this part of the world is exciting. And at Xero, we want to make sure that we're doing that, and we're doing it in a way that kind of continues to foster trust. And as we bring on more partners and support others like you, we also provide more data to our small business customers. And that insight and that kind of concept of being the most trusted and insightful small business platform, we think is pretty central to a long-term proposition that can have a huge impact. So we're on a mission, and we invite you to join our platform, one that's built on purpose, hopefully you've seen today, built on belief that we can improve the quality of life for people in small business and their communities and the economy. So we'd love for you to join us, and I really throw it out to you. Please come on, have a look at the platform if you're not on there, and come on this journey with us together. Thank you for your time today.